All right. So, video number 2 today. I wanted to talk about magic users in a Vancian context. What I have been doing is I've been reading Tales from the Dying Earth. I have not been doing this super rapidly, so I still have a long way to go. But I'm loving it. I don't really designate a whole lot of reading time for myself these days, and I really need to work on that. But what I wanted to talk about is just how interesting that it seems to play out in the Dying Earth books. If you haven't read them, like seriously, go read them. You're doing yourself a favor if you play D&D. Or AD&D or any version of D&D except for 4th edition, then you'll have kind of like an inkling of what Vancian magic is. And I mean, if you're on this channel, you already know what it is. You've probably already read the books, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it. So what is really cool about it, I think, is the way that magic users behave in the books. It is something else, and I think that it sets up a very rich dynamic that you can use for your worlds. So basically, there is a very strong spirit of competition among these magic users. And I think that this would only make sense whenever, having this ability is something that gives you immense power. And honestly, it does. There's a reason why in D&D, the linear fighter quadratic wizard has been a thing, and that's because this ability to reshape the fabric of reality is incredibly powerful, and they make very liberal use of it. And it's just awesome. But whenever you can take all that into consideration, then you have very real threats. You have people that want your knowledge. It can, and they can just want the stuff that you've made. Even it doesn't even have to be necessarily your knowledge. In the Vancian context, it does seem to be the knowledge, though. So, just to give an example. So I'm not great with the names. I'm still not great with the names. You're gonna have to forgive me. But basically, the kind of stuff that Turjan went through in the beginning is just very evocative, I would say. So, to start with, he encounters this magic user, starts with a P, I can't remember the name, who is incredibly eccentric and mysterious. And it kind of seems just like he's being visited by he's visiting rather someone incredibly otherworldly, somebody who just like, they're just on a whole different level. And what ends up happening is they're dealing with each other is very transactional. And I really like this. So basically, this guy needs something done. He doesn't want to do it himself, and he has something that he knows Turjan wants. And basically what that thing is the ability to create humans, in these vats or whatever, which Turjan has been trying to do for ages, but he can just never pull it off. So you have this guy that he knows how to do it, and he will teach you how to do it. He'll take you on as an apprentice for a time if you do a service for him. So that is the first thing that happened. I felt like this is incredibly interesting, because a lot of times whenever people talk about, including magic users in campaigns, it's like, we're going to have like a magic college. Everybody kind of works together and that kind of thing, which that's what's happening in my public game right now. And it's perfectly fine. And in fact, I would say that it kind of makes sense because of the spirit of the campaign. It's a quest against, chaos, basically, and you have tons of PCs that are magic users, so to have them all fighting against each other would probably be not the best thing whatsoever, to have. It could get very, very ugly very quickly. So instead, if you were having a campaign where, let's say, you just have a standard party, a regular party that you use, and you have a magic user in the party, then your NPC magic users, maybe they behave like that, where They want something done. They're going to teach you something. And it's not maybe not even an actual like just a spell. They're maybe not just giving you a spell scroll or something like that. Maybe it's something a little bit different, something a little bit more ritualistic or alchemical or something to that degree that the players can really dive into. And this is just something for them to utilize for a quest. It was very interesting. So, I mean, then he encounters another magic user, and there's this whole, period where it's like they're kind of having this back and forth about how they can counter each other before they even start fighting, which is just it's just really interesting. And there's this ace in the hole that Turjan has that he uses against the guy. Just again, the way that plays out is just really cool. Again, it's very conflicted. Like and another interesting thing about it is, they know each other's names. It's one of those things where they're so infrequent, which again is something that you can really play with in a setting where you have maybe a small party. And only one magic user or something like that, then it can be where, the magic user is one of just a few people out there, especially revered magic users. You can have some initiates or whatever, but they know each other's names, and they know they have reputations, and they are like, they're not on great terms a lot of times whenever they deal with each other. And then you get Mazirian. So whenever you hear about Mazirian, that's something else. So then you find out that Turjan has been captured by this guy who, again, he's also a magic user. He has him shrunk down and stuck in a trap with this thing. I think it was a minotaur, but it was some kind of monster. Some kind of monster that was like chasing him around, and it was basically like torture. He was basically trying to torture Turjan into giving him the secret of how to make the humans. And then Turjan's like, I'm not going to tell you because then you're going to kill me. Like, you won't have any more use for me. So like, screw you, guy. Really. So the whole reason I'm bringing this all up is I just found it incredibly evocative. I found it, very interesting, something that you can really pull from and use. And this is just why Appendix N stuff is so important. Like, I'm somebody who, I'm most of the people that are watching this, they probably already know everything I'm talking about. They're probably already doing it. But when it comes to me, a lot of my influence in fantasy is not Appendix N. I've been working my way in that direction after the fact. So, the more that I read this stuff, I've been reading Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, and now I'm reading Tales of the Dying Earth. Of course, I've read Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. But, even then I feel like Fafhrd and Grey Mouser and Tales from the Dying Earth are, I think, a little bit more useful for the application that I'm looking for. But the more I read this stuff, the more I just get, that I can use in my games. And I think it's just fantastic. So check out your Appendix N stuff, guys, if you haven't already. I'm sure you probably have, but go check it out if you haven't. That's it for today. I have more stuff to talk about, but I forgot what it was, and I need to do some other stuff. So maybe there will be another video. Take it easy.